This morning, you probably stepped into a shower, twisted a handle, and let hot water hit your skin for several minutes without giving it a second thought. You brushed your teeth with a paste built in a lab, designed by scientists who spent years perfecting the exact mix of chemicals that would keep your mouth fresh. Maybe you used a stick of deodorant that promised 48 hours of protection. And even after all of that, you probably still felt like you needed 5 more minutes before you were ready to face the day. Now imagine none of that exists. No faucet. No tube of paste. No deodorant stick. No bathroom door to close behind you. Just you, the weather, and a group of 20 or 30 people who are dealing with the exact same problem you are. This was daily life for early humans for hundreds of thousands of years. And the way they handled staying clean is far more clever than most people assume. Let's start with the mouth, because this is where the story gets surprising fast. Right now, your mouth is home to hundreds of species of bacteria, and brushing doesn't eliminate them, it just keeps the balance under control. Early humans had no brushes, no paste, no mouthwash. And yet, when scientists study ancient skulls, they often find teeth in remarkably good shape. Not perfect, but in many cases healthier than you'd expect. Researchers who studied bacterial DNA preserved in old dental remains found something telling. The real shift toward bad oral health happened after humans began farming. Once grain became the center of the diet, the bacteria responsible for cavities multiplied rapidly. Before that, people were eating a rotating mix of meat, roots, nuts, and wild plants, and their mouths simply didn't have the constant sugar supply that fuels tooth decay. Early humans weren't cleaning their teeth better than us. Their diet was just doing a lot of the work for them. That said, they weren't completely passive about it either. Archaeologists have found small twigs, worn and frayed at one end, at dig sites stretching across multiple continents. People would chew on certain types of wood, often from trees with natural antibacterial properties, and use the frayed end to scrub between their teeth. They had no idea about the chemistry involved. They just noticed that some sticks left their mouths feeling fresher than others, and they kept reaching for those same trees. Now let's talk about the one nobody likes to bring up, body smell. Here's something that might change how you think about it. Sweat itself barely smells like anything. It's mostly water and salt. The smell you associate with sweating actually comes from bacteria on your skin breaking it down and releasing waste as a byproduct. And those bacteria thrive best in warm, covered, unmoving conditions, exactly the environment created by wearing the same clothing for days in a row. Early humans lived outdoors, moved constantly, and weren't wrapped in synthetic fabric all day. Their skin carried a completely different bacterial population than ours does today, and scientists who study modern communities that have never used soap have found the same thing, a totally different skin ecosystem, not necessarily worse, just different. Some of those bacteria we've wiped out with modern hygiene products were actually doing useful jobs, like keeping harmful microbes in check. And early humans had their own version of a solution, even without understanding any of the biology behind it. They rubbed crushed plants and herbs onto their skin, things like sage, juniper, and wild mint. The original purpose was usually to keep insects away, but it had a side effect: they ended up smelling like the forest around them. Which, in a world that was mostly forest, wasn't exactly a problem. Here is where things get genuinely interesting. If you stopped washing your hair completely, your scalp would go through an adjustment period where it overproduces oil, because it's used to being stripped constantly by shampoo. Early humans never created that cycle in the first place, so their scalp simply produced oil at a steady, manageable rate. Instead of washing, they relied on combing. Archaeologists have found hair combs carved from bone and wood at sites going back well over 10,000 years. But here's the part that's easy to miss. A huge amount of hair care wasn't really about hygiene at all, it was social. Early humans spent hours picking through each other's hair, removing dirt and parasites in a behavior researchers call social grooming. Anthropologists believe this wasn't just cleaning, it was one of the earliest forms of bonding between people, long before language became advanced enough to carry that same emotional weight. Sitting close to someone, touching them, trusting them enough to let them near your scalp for an hour, that built relationships in a way conversation alone couldn't. Let's clear up a major myth: early humans absolutely did bathe. The idea that ancient people avoided water entirely usually gets confused with stories about medieval Europeans centuries later, which is a completely different situation. Hunter-gatherer groups who lived near rivers, lakes, and streams used water regularly. Communities today who still live a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, like the Hadza in Tanzania, treat washing in natural water sources as a completely normal daily habit. What they didn't have was soap. The earliest recorded soap-making comes from ancient Mesopotamia, thousands of years after humans had already been living and surviving without it. Before that, people improvised. Sand worked to scrub off dirt. Ash mixed with water created a mild cleaning solution. Certain clays could pull oil and grime out of skin when rubbed on and rinsed away. None of these worked as well as a bar of soap from your bathroom shelf, but they were enough to get by for a species that hadn't yet built up the modern bacterial exposure soap is designed to fight. And then there's the topic everyone is secretly curious about: bathroom habits. Early humans dealt with it the way every other animal does: they went outside. But they were more organized about it than people assume. Multiple archaeological sites show clear evidence of designated waste areas, spots kept deliberately separate from where people slept and ate. Even Neanderthals, who lived alongside early humans for thousands of years, show this same pattern at sites across Europe. This detail matters more than it seems. Keeping waste away from food and water is one of the most basic, effective public health habits there is. Many of history's worst disease outbreaks didn't happen because people were dirty in some primitive sense, they happened because cities packed huge numbers of people together without enough space to maintain that separation. Small, constantly moving groups of early humans avoided that problem almost by accident. They weren't healthier because they were smarter about germs. They were healthier because they never stayed in one place long enough for the problem to build up. Here's what really stands out after looking at all of this. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans managed to stay clean enough to survive, build families, form communities, and create art and language, all without a single manufactured product. The chewing sticks, the herbal rubs, the social grooming, the carefully placed waste areas, none of that was a desperate workaround. It was a working system, built entirely from paying close attention to the world around them. Noticing which stick made their mouth feel better. Noticing which plant kept the bugs away. Noticing exactly where not to go. Your morning routine today, with its perfectly heated water and lab-engineered toothpaste, is an incredible achievement built on thousands of years of accumulated knowledge. But it's solving the exact same problem early humans solved with nothing but a sharp eye and a bit of trial and error. They weren't dirty. They were just working with what they had. And looking back, they did a lot more with it than most people give them credit for.